What's up, guys and gals, and welcome back to the Nerd Castle. Today in the world of indie games, we're going to be taking a look at a title called Gord. This is one of those games that released to mostly negative reviews, which kind of shocked me because when I played the demo of this game, we played the first couple levels, and it seemed to be a striking dark fantasy RTS city builder that was sort of invoking, I guess, some of the ideas of a title like Frostpunk. I think that Frostpunk right now is actually one of those way over-invoked games where people like compare it to way too many things. However, in this case, it became one of those games where you've got a lot of resource management. You're running around the map with like a RTS army, kind of like wiping out enemies and fighting bloodworms like we're doing right now. All that kind of fun stuff. And the game released to actually kind of a resounding plop. Nothing really happened with it. As of right now, it sits at 50% reviews, positive anyways, over on Steam. It's got a DLC that's just out. So I figured we'd take a look at the game here for about 30 minutes today and update my coverage so that I at least have a video out there that is somewhat current with what the game has got going on. But let's dive straight on in. If after watching this you wanted to get the game for yourself, I got a link for you down below in the description. I've played the game for about 3 hours right now, which I think is about right for my first impressions. I definitely have some thoughts about the game as it lies right now. You can also find a link down below to my Discord and my Twitch stream if you wanted to hang out live. I'm in all of those places pretty much every day of the week, although Twitch has been doing weird stuff with my VODs. Every time I say that, somebody's like, I always look at your Twitch and there's no VODs. And I'm like, yeah, they keep like privating them and hiding them for some reason. I gotta like fiddle with the settings because they reset something. But let's dive on into Gord. So on a core level, what is Gord? Gord is a game about you being a imperial governor that has been sent north into the barbarian lands because they are technically yours, but due to the threats and the wildness of that area, nobody has really done anything with it. There are tribal pagan peoples that live up there that are friendly to the Empire, but by and large, just living in the place is such a huge headache that the Empire really hasn't fooled with it at all. And so you are a governor that is going out and you are building on each campaign level a new Gord, which is effectively like a palisade town. Inside of here, you've got production buildings, you've got resources, you've got all that kind of stuff. But the ultimate goal of the game, no matter what it is that you're doing out in the game world, is that you are going to be building up an army and pacifying that area. What that means is that there's going to be a whole lot of clearing fog of war, a whole lot of little events and sort of diplomatic incidents that are going to happen along the way. You're going to be consolidating your power and leveling up characters. The characters are persistent in between levels. So if any of these warriors die, we just lost a guy that we no longer have. He's just gone. All of the skills and all the requisite things that he's got going for him have been eliminated at that point. And so this game is definitely leaning in kind of like a darker fantasy direction in order to get its narrative going. The game does come strapped with a campaign and dialogue and really beautiful art and some really cool graphics and some really cool animations and a huge variety of enemies that you're going to be going up against at the end of the game. But ultimately, the point of the game is to go out and ravage the land and tame it and wipe out everything that's on it. There's usually some kind of storyline onus for doing that. And so you're going to be building up a small-scale RTS army to go out and fight with the foe, and that's going to be a big chunk of the gameplay. I haven't really found the resource management or anything else to really be a headache or a problem to hold down the entire time that I'm playing. In fact, you can kind of, once you've got it set up, you can safely ignore it to kind of just tool around the map, destroying stuff and killing people up until you get to the ultimate storyline goal, whatever that may be. Along the way, you're going to run into mythical creatures. There's going to be problems. Occasionally, the game's going to have randomized RimWorld-style events that pop up that are going to call for you to go hunt like certain mobs, or build a certain building, or complete a certain task, or arrive at a certain location through the woods along the way. We don't really have any of those active right now. I just have the main storyline quest to make a Clayworks, and I haven't really fiddled around with that too heavily as of right now, but I do have some extra people around in town, so it may not be the worst idea to do so. If you don't like frosty, forested environments that are full of swamps, I got really bad news for you. You're not going to like this game. This game takes almost entirely inside of sort of this Celtic-inspired bog, or maybe like this Eastern European-styled bog from the names that everybody has. As of right now, what I'm doing is I'm doing the aforementioned map clearing and just gathering resources and trying to find the things that I'm going to need in order to build up the city even further. So it looks like Lotto's on the right side of the bar over there. That's a joke in Spanish. I'm going to take Lotto. I don't think Lotto is even doing anything right now. We're going to assign Lotto to be a lumber chopper because I don't think that I have enough stuff around to get that finished off. It also looks like Haddon is just kind of sitting around over here. So we'll put him on lumber chopping. Everything in this game has a one-click interface. You click a person on a building and they will do that job in perpetuity so long as they are able to go out and gather the resources that are out there on the map. So you can see here I've got fishermen that are running around and going to different fish ponds. The resources do respawn, but it takes time. So you can spend many, many months on this map. There's a decision. What is it?
Our people need immediate help.
There was an accident at one of our structures. Butt lava slipped and hit her head. Someone nearby came to help her, and she regained consciousness, and she doesn't remember anything. She can't remember where she is, what she's doing here, or even who she is. It's probably temporary, but the woman needs time to recover. Okay. I guess she can have brain rot for a little while. I don't really know what else to say. We'll close that off, and it looks like she's got brain rot. How do I fix that? Is this the real world, or is it a fantasy? One thing is for sure, it's all confusing. All right, so she's got herself, like, you can see the art in this game is really well done and very sort of dark fantasy inspired. We have a bathtub over here. You can get in the bathtub and splash around with your rubber ducky if you need to get HP back. And so she lost the vast majority of her health right there. She's going to be hanging out in the bathtub for the foreseeable future. I don't blame her, dude. I love hanging out in the bathtub. I think the bathtub is one of the greatest inventions ever. I think that Seinfeld did terrible damage to the bathtub lobby. Like, I take a bath, and I just hang out in the bubbles for a while, and then when you're done, you shower off real fast. That's all. You just knock it out real quick. But anyway, she's going to be in the bathtub. There are buildings that allow you to train your military. There are buildings that allow you to gather various resources. You're going to need all those things as you go through the game if you want to be successful. And in fact, I just built a new section of the Gord over here. Like, I just added this wall on this side. So I do think that we need to get into, like, Clayworks or something. So I'm going to put a Clayworks, I suppose, back in over here, just making the best use of my space that I possibly can. There's no way to bulldoze any of these things that are around. Garrus the fisherman. Oh, good. It looks like the lumberjacks are going to go over there and build it. Fair enough. I need my army. What's my army doing right now? Continuing to explore and expand and claim this for the glorious Imperium? Good. That is all I require of you at this time. There is a motley cast of characters in this game, but the resources you need to collect are wood, reeds for thatching. You've got food. You've got your Gord size right here. It will level up as you add more buildings and as you add more stuff to it. You've got your sanity level. Your sanity level, for me anyways, has been pretty easy to manage, but I'm only on like the 3rd level right now. I've been playing for 2 or 3 hours, I guess 3 to 4 hours at this point, now that I take a look at the timer. But the maps in this game are very large. They are enormous. They are quite... Oh, they're chasing us. Beautiful. All right, well, go into combat and do the combat thing. If any of you start to look like you have bad health, I will pull you out of the fray. But all of my warriors are really well trained because, as I was saying, the maps are really sprawling in this game. Unfortunately, they are sprawling, and they're also kind of dull. There's not a whole lot to discover inside of them, except for, like, random little points of interest that don't really stand up off the map very well and don't really distinguish themselves. They don't have, like, runways into the interesting areas on the map. And so I have found that, in general, the map exploration is kind of dull. Occasionally, you will get some kind of prompt or some kind of bonus or some kind of cutscene for getting to a certain area of the map, but by and large, you just kind of get there and then, like, nothing happens, or there's, like, a thing that you can click on. So, for example, this hermit hut over here, it looks like if I give them some reeds and I give them some wood, we will get a new... Oh, they'll heal me. Got you. So, physical afflictions. I don't think anybody has a physical affliction right now. We have a mental affliction that I need to get rid of, and I would be interested in tracking that down. What is that? What are you? A golden boy. A strange creature resembling a boy with golden skin is beckoning you. He might be a benevolent spirit. If you play with him, you may receive gold. This is what I mean by dull, though, is you find something like a magic glowing gold boy, and there's no, like, pop-up text. There's no, like, narration being like, a startling boy is in front of you. He glows from top to bottom with the sheen of gold. You know what I mean? Oh, he did give us a lot of gold right there for playing with him. Like, I definitely think the game could have used a little bit of a boost to the way that it introduces some of the points of interest and things that you come across while you're banging around on the map, just kind of like mindlessly clearing fog on out. Did we ever get is the clay pit done? I think the clay pit must be done because it's saying that we need to farm up some clay. All right, do I have anybody that's idle right now that's not really doing anything or not really being helpful to society? Our food supply is starting to fall off, so it may be time to supplement that ever so slightly. We do have some reed guys over here that we could probably send out. Does anybody have good mining? Lucan does. Lucan, congratulations. You're a miner right now. Drop off all your stuff. When's my next child going to be born? Looks like we should have just gotten a child, but we are kind of like pop-capped out at the moment, so that might also be the other problem. I don't think we're going to need too many more reeds. So if I've got somebody else that's good at doing, you know, harvesting stuff, I wouldn't be against it. This guy's pretty good at mining, but he is one of my warriors, so that'll make my battle force quite a bit weaker. We'll just keep the clay miner where he's at for the moment, and we'll see what the clay benefits us. I don't know how close we are to level 4. Looks like we've got a bit of ways to go till we hit level 4. But we could use an archery range. I would not be against an archery range's acquisition. Building in this game is going to be kind of cramped. It's going to be that way from the time you start till the time you finish. You're just going to have to deal with it. Building is kind of crampy in this game. We'll put an archery range over there, I suppose. That'll actually kind of like eliminate the rest of our wood. So we're going to need to find a new supply of that. They're going pretty far to get wood when it looks to me like there's perfectly decent trees over here. But maybe they're not trees of the choppable kind. It's not letting me highlight them right now. And I think it's like specific trees that can be chopped down. So we may have to wait a little bit for the resources to come back in. Let's continue up this way and see if we can find anything useful out here. But for the most part, the game seems to mostly be about clearing fog of war and just like fighting stuff and leveling up your guys. There are treasures to find out here. Every single one of your characters has skills in different things, whether it be fighting or mining or cutting down trees. They also have equipment slots. Unfortunately, the game doesn't provide you with a lot of options for equipment management. I think that could be assuaged if they added an item chest that exists in the middle of town and you could automatically send items to the chest, and any item that's left laying on the ground for more than a minute automatically teleports there. And then from there, you could also have like a full display of your guys next to the item stash layout, and you could re-equip them. Re-equipping items in this game at the moment is a little bit tedious, and by a little bit tedious, I mean a lot of bit tedious. Inside, so you get to keep these guys. As I mentioned, they're persistent. Like, as you go through the game, you are going to keep your characters so long as they didn't die during the previous mission, which means that all their equipment is concurrent as well, and you get to pick and choose those guys in between missions based on their skills and the cap of units that you have for a given mission. However, there doesn't really seem to be a way to usefully manage items inside of that menu or at all inside of the game. It just kind of feels like you've got to go back to town, drop a bunch of items on the ground, and once you drop a bunch of items on the ground, you kind of have to micromanage, pick and choose who's going to equip those items one by one, which leads to this big doldrums in the middle of gameplay that I think with a proper UI and layout would actually be a non-issue. Like, it could have been completely and totally avoided along the way. And so item management is one of those things that I've been fiercely avoiding just because it's a little bit boring to have to take care of it. But there are things to discover on the map. As I mentioned, there is a wide variety of enemies that all have different abilities. There are sub-bosses. So on this map, I already slew a spider queen that did like this AoE that puts poison on everybody and summons little baby spiders as ads that you've got to fight off. There are little points of interest out here to find. It's just it kind of gets lost in the never-ending dark woods that are prattling around. I think there was a spot where I could rescue a guy, too. I think I leapfrogged it a little bit while I was clearing my way around. What do we have over here? Like more wolves? Let's fight some more wolves on this side. Is that a booby trap? Oh, it was, dude. I saw it right at the last second. Kind of a bummer. Somebody got poisoned, and poison plants. There's plants around that you can use to upgrade. Or, I'm sorry, to get rid of poison off people, but otherwise it's just got to run its course. And the poison plants are quite a bit rarer than a lot of the other plants. And 23 gold out of that grave. We've got gold that we've got to manage over here. The gold effectively ticks down slowly based on the units that you have. When the game first came out, as I understand it, there wasn't enough gold on the maps for you to be able to keep paying your mobs, but that seems to be fixed. That hasn't really been an issue. I don't think that I've been low on gold the entire time that I'm playing this out here. Let's go see if we can stage a rescue from the wild folk, because I remember seeing a cage around here or something that I could get my people out of if we could just get on over there to do it. There will also be other supplements on the ground, like these little healing herbs that you can use to heal your guys. The game is very dark fantasy, sort of Witcher 3 influenced, where the woods and the outdoors are very scary. And this is a place where even the locals don't really know what's out there. And when they say what's out there, you don't even really know if you can believe them, because they're superstitious, kind of like hut dwellers, like out in the middle of nowhere. Like, there may very well indeed be something bad out there, but it may not always be what they predict for you to find. A couple of dead bodies over here that we could loot. I think there was like a... Oh, we found the horror. We must meet with the horror. Apparently there's a horror on this map, and it has demands for us. All right, let's go see the horror and see what demands it has to lay upon us. I'm going to quick save before I do it, though, because you never know when you walk up on these elder forest gods what's going to transpire. Typically, you're given a choice between, like, sacrificing children or sacrificing a whole bunch of resources in order to gain the favor of the elder god that lives out in the forest, or you can fight them. Their fights tend to be a little bit more complex, and they tend to be a lot more challenging than other fights inside of the game, even for maxed out warriors that are really good at their job. Some of the boss fights can be a tremendous headache to work your way through. Let's go over here. And what do we have? Well, after all you've seen, you're not really easily intimidated, but the grace and strength of Layan causes your heart to tremble. He radiates a pride and power that will demand your compliance. You dare to bother me, human? A sharp whisper pierces your thoughts. Prove yourself useful to me or perish under my hooves. So we have 20 minutes to offer 2 game animals to Layan. Okay, if we fail to do that, he's going to put a curse on us. But I'll accept the challenge, I suppose, because I don't know exactly what he's going to do, and he's got 3,300 HP. And the 3,300 HP, he hits for 40. Yeah, my guys have, like, what? 100 HP, and he hits for 40, and our guys hit for like 12 on a good day. So that's going to be kind of tough. So we're going to need to get a hunter's den in here, and we're also going to need to assign people to working in that hunter's den. So let's get the hunter's den rotated around and see if we can find a good place for it. The only place where it looks like I can squozen in a hunter's den is over here, but I'm a little bit worried it's going to block off the gate. I'll give it a go. I don't know if we have another expansion ready to go for us yet. We do not have another expansion ready to go. I kind of messed up with the building system with this little expansion area over here because I didn't understand how the wall expansion worked just yet. But we'll squeeze that in where it is. We'll add a new gate if we have to, if they can't get by it. And maybe it'll be okay. You guys all go and build for a second. You guys can resume your jobs in just a minute. There's a new thing that we've got to do too. The Path of a Vagabond. Our people have never fought so many monsters before. They used to stick to the settlement and have no contact with magic. Now they're absorbed with fear of what the darkness hides. However, there are some people born with spirits like Stogobor. He is eager for adventure, the mind that inspires glorious songs sung for many. In gloomy times, we need a hope like that. It will inspire our subjects' heart. So they want me to use a point of interest. They want me to use a totem. They want me to kill some wolves, and they want me to kill some wild folk. We got a lot of stuff on the docket right now, but I'll see what I can do for you, champ. I'll see what's out here. There was a wild folk spot, like, over here. Let's see if we can get to the wild folk spot and figure out where the entrance is at. We'll tell them to meet up over here, and we'll kill the wild folk right there. And if we see anything along the way, we'll fight that too. And we did find other things along the way. There are Spidarians on this side. Unfortunately, the spiders are not what we're looking for to complete that overarching quest, but I guess that's life. Any resources in here we can make use of? There's dead guys. Dead guys usually give gold. Yeah, I was going to say. Nothing too useful right there. But I still want to get inside this wild folk village and wipe them out. Oh, we got gazers down here, too. All kinds of random things that we need to scrum with. All right, boys, give them what for. There's not really any abilities or anything else like that that are going to be used during the combat and the fighting. It seems like they upgrade, like my archer fires a multi-arrow now, and I don't think he did that at the beginning. A green herb. That's for getting rid of poison. That's not going to be that helpful. There's a dead guy right there. There's a dead body. A book of food gathering. Well, I mean, if we can take that back to town with us, that'd be good if anybody has any space. Does nobody have any space? Nobody has any space for it, unfortunately. Okay. Well, I guess we'll worry about that later. Let's continue on our way out. Oh, look at that. Humanity. I did need to use a shrine, and it looks like there's one right there. I've actually kind of cleared out a big chunk of the map already, which has me a little bit worried about finding wolves. The maps are quite large in this game. They're very, very big maps that take you a while to clear on out. I'd be surprised if you could get through some of these levels in under an hour or two. There we go. We used a shrine. Perfect. We got a point of interest. We got the shrine. We're going to go get the wild folk warriors because they're right here. I do need to go back to town, and I do need to assign hunters, I guess. Go be a hunter, my man. You'll be a hunter for a little bit. You've got food production experience anyways, and we'll see if we can gift some of that on over to them.
We need to build or upgrade a storehouse.
I also don't need any further reeds. So if somebody's gathering reeds, just come be a hunter. I need a couple animal bodies for you to bring in. All right, these guys are right outside the wild folk domicile. But it appears as though I've already cleared said wild folk domicile. It's okay, there's another one over here, so we'll gather up on this one right here. It's only like a few feet away. What's up with the tags? I guess it just wants me to do jobs. It wants me to put some rattlesnake traps out. I think in the narrative of this level, we were preparing for raids or something, but there was no timer or anything else like that to like force you to work on the main storyline quest. So I just started exploring the map and gathering things. There's our wild folk. Hello, folk. What are wild? Well, let's micro a little bit. I'm going to bring this guy over here. These ones are a little bit tougher. They're pretty good at getting hit in the face, but I guess rough living will do that to you. There we go. We dropped them. We got anything inside the treasure chest? An excellent torch. I don't really care about that. I don't actually know. There's people in cages over here. Oh, apparently there was just dead guys in there, so he threw up and lost some hope. Womp, womp, womp. What are you going to do? I was hoping I would get 2 more guys out of that equation. What the hell? Okay, we got some kind of dragon beast thing going on this side. What other enemies are we looking at? We're looking specifically for wolves. There's wolves down there. Let's do this side quest real fast. I don't know how I offer the animals to him. Not so sure about that. Like, it looks like they've got the body right there, so they're hunting pretty well at the moment. Do I have to, like, bring that to him over here and, like, drop it inside the radius? Maybe I do. I wonder if that's how you do it. Do you also have a deer? Kind of in a weird spot where I'm waiting for him to process that deer right there. So let's go get these boars out of the way. Oof, big boar charge right there, knocking people all over the place. But I think the video's gotten to the point where we can talk about my first impressions and why I think the game might be cruising at a 50% rating, even though the aesthetics and sort of like the design of the game are not altogether that terrible. So Gord is kind of a hard one to get a finger on the pulse of. It's one of those games that I've waffled back and forth. Like, sometimes I was having a good time, and other times I was just sort of bored. I wasn't having a bad time. I was just a little bit bored. I think on the front end, you've got really good graphics. You've got really good lighting. You've got decent storytelling set in a universe that's sort of Eastern European bog, barbarian inspired. You've got a dark universe that like begs you to explore it. You've got resource management, army management, fighting off raids, upgrading buildings, all that other standard stuff that you'd expect from a title like this. I think Frostpunk is actually a really bad comparison for this game, though, and I keep seeing people bring it up because this is an RTS. First and foremost, and almost totally a small-scale one. The city-building portion is mostly just kind of like managing your building space, and other than that, my experience from the first 3 or 4 hours is that the city is on autopilot. Once you set it up, it does its own thing, and you will never be low on resources ever again. And when you do run out of a particular resource, there's usually another building you can pivot to, or some resource piles that your warriors found to get the same result on out. And so the game didn't really feel like it pressured me. And it didn't really seem like it wanted to get me into it. It seems much more concerned with tutorializing the hell out of you than actually getting you into the immersive, pulse-pounding thing that it's pitching in its opening minutes. I think they probably would have benefited here from having smaller, more focused levels with much more challenging points of interest that were also more visually distinct, with narrative cutscenes introducing them and making them really stand out so that it was like exciting and a little bit scary to stumble upon a new thing the first time you encounter them. It would have focused the game up quicker and I think gotten it into a fast-paced flow faster, which I think as of right now doesn't really exist. And because that stuff isn't there, you have this opening narrative of the game that just wants you to believe how grim and dark and brutal and nasty the universe is and how there's death around every corner. But then you get a gameplay experience that's mostly just Zerg mobbing your military units around packs of mobs that look different, but all mostly just auto-attack and don't really do anything different inside visually indistinct forests and swamps. The occasional fight with a god, a boss, or a mini-boss, those were a nice mix-up. I enjoyed those. But really, if this universe is so dangerous, every single camp and every location you find in the woods should be memorable. Now, it's possible I'm playing on normal difficulty. There's 2 more difficulties above this. But when I think normal difficulty and then a Frostpunk comparison, normal difficulty on Frostpunk was hard for most people. And so I was expecting the game to press down on me a little bit more, to push me a little bit more, to bump chests with me a little bit more. And it didn't really do that. Maybe I just need to step up the difficulty. But I found that the majority of the game was kind of just slowly marching around the map, clearing out mob stacks and looting all their little loot piles without much artistic prodding or interaction. This leads to kind of this dull doldrums in the middle of clearing a map, which in many cases I think you have to do in order to complete the more challenging final chapters of each level. Like, you need to level up your guys. You need to build up an army. You need to go find items that make them better at their jobs. And so you kind of have to clear the map on a certain level. And so it's a shame that the map was so uninspiring, I guess. Voice acting, spotty. It's here and there. For a game with such high artistic production values, I found that the witch in particular, all of her lines are really stiff, which will mess with your immersion. Some of the other characters are here and there as well. Item management, I mentioned a bit, but it was a headache for me. I might have missed like some giant magic menu where I could organize items for my entire clan. But I looked around a lot, actually, because it was bothering me. And I ended up just dropping stuff on the ground in order to exchange them in between guys. And so it became another tedious thing that I had to deal with, but maybe I was just doing it wrong. I find it hard to believe that there's not like a unified menu where you can't do all that stuff, but I couldn't find it. All in all, this is a game where as I said at the beginning, I kind of flop back and forth between having a good time and feeling like I was just mindlessly clearing the map so that I could mindlessly build up and clear the next map again with some new narrative onus. The good news is that a lot of the reviews about this game that are negative are about it being buggy, and in the current build, I was mostly bug-free. I don't think I saw anything. Sometimes pathfinding could be a little bit weird, or sometimes guys would just, like, stop every now and again in a complex pathfinding situation. But other than that, I didn't really see any other bugs. But I'm not sure with the overall humdrum monotony of this game, I would actually come back to it and dump a bunch of hours into it. That's a shame, because someone clearly cared about this game when they were making it. The artwork is great, the soundtrack is great, the marketing deck is great, the graphics are great. Like, it has this idea that it's pitching, but I think when that great idea and the great setup of those aspects, it creates certain expectations from the core gameplay loop, along with like calling in comparisons to razor-tight games like Frostpunk. I think those expectations get dashed when what results is a game where you're plodding around the forest for 30 minutes just clearing out camps to get items and stuff and level up your guys high enough and find extra units so that you can go find like a final boss and beat him up for an interesting fight. And so I think if the forest had been a little bit more visually diverse, the locations had been a little bit more visually diverse and a little bit more hyped up and a little bit more challenging and a little bit more complex, I think there would be a lot less transitional trouble with this game in between the city building portions, the narrative portions, and the fighting portions. Like, don't get me wrong, there's fun to be had here with some of the demands of the gods and some of the events and things like that. But I think the real question we have to answer here is, does the enjoyment of those rare sporadic elements in between the monotony and the presentation values, which are quite good, outweigh the $40 price tag that comes with all that middle game monotony that's on in there? And I think that's ultimately what you're seeing reflected inside the reviews, that I would actually agree with a lot of them. This is a game that you want to love it more than you actually do. I will see you all later. My name is Splattercat. I sift through the pile to find what's worthwhile in the world of indie games every single day so you don't have to. Sorry about the negative coverage lately, but indie games are just kind of in that state right now where there's a lot of stuff going out and not a lot of it is living up to expectation. And I don't enjoy making videos like these. It's not fun for me to make videos like these. I'm rooting for every indie game out there. But the fact of the matter is, in the second quarter of 2024, things are a little bit rough and scruffy. And so with nothing else to make videos on, I'm hitting the stuff that's got complaints. I'll see y'all later. Thanks for hanging out, and that's about all I got for you. Bye, folks.